So in today's session, let's start with the Selenium. So in the last class, we were discussing about what is Selenium, what are the advantages of Selenium, why we go for automation, what are the advantages of automation, and all those things, right? So today, to start with the Selenium concepts, so first topic would be how to identify elements. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sharing my desktop. So let me take one website. So using that website, let's understand how we are going to identify elements and all those things. Okay.
Okay.
So I am going to take the website of passport application of India. So this would be this will give us a very good clear picture about all the web elements. Okay. So for example, if you see this website, what can we do in this website?
You can enter the text fields. You can select the item from a drop-down list. You can perform a checkbox.
Something like we can submit a application to for online registration of our passport application. So in order to do this, we need to fill this form, all the text boxes, select the drop downs, check the check boxes, and click on a submit button, right?
Yeah.
So when we are using an automation, to do automation, we need to identify these elements, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So in order to identify these elements and perform an action on these elements, for example, this text box, I want to enter some text box into this surname text box. So I need to identify this text box, surname text box, and perform an action called entering my surname into the text box. So any element on a given web application to perform an action in Selenium, we treat those elements as web elements.
Okay.
So I can call this text box as a web element. I can call this drop down as a web element. I can call this checkbox as a web element. I can call this button as a web element. The text available beside the text boxes also can be treated as a web element. Okay? Any doubts?
No, fine.
So anything on a given web application, if an automation engineer wants to perform an action, such elements are called web elements in Selenium words, or Selenium technically calls them as a web element. Okay. So in order to identify this text box, we have these many text boxes. I want to enter a text into the surname text box. So I need to identify this surname uniquely. So to identify this surname uniquely, we should make sure that whatever the text that we are entering through automation is going to be entered into that particular text box only. So to do this, Selenium provides us 5 different approaches. Okay.
Yeah.
So those 5 different approaches are. So let me take. The first is ID. Second is name. Third is class name. Fourth is Xpath. fifth is CSS. So in order to identify any element on a given web application, we can take any of these 5 approaches. Either we can take an ID approach, we can take a name approach, we can take a class name approach, we can take an Xpath approach, or we can take a CSS approach. Okay? Are you clear? Clear?
Yeah.
So, to identify with any of these types, first of all, we require some kind of add-ons for our browsers.
Okay.
If we take Internet Explorer, we require IE Developer tool.
Okay. It's an add-on.
Yeah, it is an add-on. IE Developer tool for IE, Internet Explorer. For Firefox, we have Firebug and Xpath. Okay. For Chrome, we have inbuilt Firebug. Okay. So these are the 3 important browsers that we are going to use in the further classes to automate our web applications. As discussed in the earlier class, that Selenium supports Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, as well as Safari. Okay, so let's start with this. Xpath is for finding Xpaths. We do not have any add-on for Chrome or Internet Explorer to identify Xpath. There is no add-ons provided by Internet Explorer browser or the Chrome browser. For Firefox, we have an add-on called Xpath to identify Xpath. Okay. So let's start with Internet Explorer first. So as I said, we require an add-on to identify the web elements. So in my system, I have an add-on, or else even you can download the add-on just by going to Google and typing this google.com so IE Developer tool. Select the first option and it will give us the download link from where we can install the IE Developer tool for Internet Explorer. Okay.
Yeah.
So as I said that I have an inbuilt in my system. If I go to View Explorer, once you install, that comes under View Explorer bar. Here you will find IE Developer toolbar. Okay.
After installing, I need to navigate to View menu bar.
View Explorer bar, Internet Explorer toolbar, or else just F12 from the keyboard. That will give you the IE Developer toolbar.
Okay.
So this is the IE Developer toolbar that is integrated to this particular browser. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first task, I want to identify the text box available over here, the surname text box. How would I do? So I would first of all use this pointer. There will be a pointer provided by the IE Developer toolbar to identify the required element. So this is the tool that says select element by click. So I am clicking on this pointer and placing the cursor on that particular element which I want to identify. So if you see, I am clicking on this text box, and once I click on the text box, if you see on the left hand side, this particular tag, the HTML data that is available over here got expanded. Yes?
Yeah. The left hand, yeah.
So in this element is showing me this element is this particular tag is identifying this particular text box. If you see, when I place the cursor on, for example, I place the cursor on a tag called TD, a blue colored dotted line is being highlighted on surname, right?
Yeah.
The same way, when I place the cursor on input tag, that particular text box is getting highlighted, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So this particular tag is the input tag, and input is the attribute.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So where this attribute is defined with some properties. So class is one property, max length is one property, name is one property, on key up is one property, size is one property, and tab index is one property. Yes?
Yeah, that's right.
And each property is defined with a value. Okay? So class is defined with a value called text box dashed. Max length is defined with a value called 35. Name is a property defined with a value called surname. On key up with some chk data in method braces 3, and size as 60, tab index as 4. Right? So as we were discussing, to identify a particular web element on a given web application, we said there are 5 different approaches. The first approach we were talking was ID. So always remember, the preference goes in this way. ID is given the first preference, name is given the second preference, class name is given the third preference, Xpath is given the fourth preference, CSS is given the fifth preference.
Okay.
Okay. So for any given web element, if you have ID defined, name defined, class name defined, the first preference should always go to ID. The second preference always should go to name. Third preference should always go to class name. Okay. So I am defined with class, max length, name, on kf, size, tab index. But as we said, ID is the first preference. But within these properties, there is no ID defined for this particular text box. Right?
Yeah.
So what would be the second preference?
Name.
So I should take name. So name has a value defined. So I should take this name. So I'm taking this value surname. Now the real importance comes into picture, how we are identifying. So have been defined with a value called name, surname with a property name. So we need to make sure that this name property with value surname is not defined anywhere else within this total website.
Okay. This should be unique.
This should be unique. This value surname with property. Name property can be defined for any web element, but the same name property should not have the value surname.
Okay.
This surname value can be for class also, but the same surname value should not be available for any other element for the name property.
Oh, okay.
So it should be like this. Name equal to should be throughout the web page. Okay. This value surname can be there for ID or class name also.
Okay.
Okay. So how do I say that this value unique, this value surname for the property name for this particular tag which identify this text box is unique? So I need to capture this value, just capture this value, and I will move this to the top of the HTML tag. This top first HTML tags will cover the total web page. Am I right?
Yeah.
So this starting HTML tag says that I am at the top of the web page and I will start searching for this particular value defined for that name till the end of the tag, till the end of the web page. So what I will do is I will have captured that value and placing that value under. So to search for that particular value, we should go under find element. See, if it is IE browser 8, then you will have IE browser and the older version of IE developer toolbar. You will find this under find tab. You will find this find element. But if it is a newer version of IE developer toolbar, you will find a search box over here. There will be a search box put over here where we need to paste that value. So what I am doing is I am pasting the value surname over here, and we said that property is name. It is not class, it is not element, it is not ID, it is name, because the value is defined for name property. So I am placing that value and place the cursor at the first HTML tag and clicking on search, find. Once I click on find, if you see, there is a blinking cursor on the surname text box. Right, Kalyan?
Yeah.
So the tag has come to here. The search has come to this text box, which is identifying that particular text box. So until from the top of the HTML tag, from here to here, there are no elements, there is no value surname with property name defined. So until here it is unique. So there are more elements after this also. So I need to once again search if there is any element defined with the same value for the property name. So I'm clicking on find the next, and it says reach the end of the document without finding an element with those properties.
Okay. So it's like throughout the website.
Yeah, throughout the total web page, this particular element is unique. This particular property name with the value surname is unique. So I can identify this particular text box with the name property with the value surname.
Yeah. What if I navigate to second page and they would be having the same property like a name and a text box surname?
If they are same, that's okay, not a problem, because the page is changing, the web page is changing.
Okay.
Within the same page, we should not have that.
Okay. Yeah.
If you are navigating to the other page, then that's not at all a problem.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So now I'll take another text box. I want to identify given name text box. So once I will place the cursor on this given name text box, once I place the cursor, a blue color highlighted tag is being displayed here again. Once again, I will check for the preference. The first preference goes to ID. Is ID available over here, Kalyan?
So
So what is the second preference goes to?
name.
So we have a name defined, right?
Yeah.
So name is defined. So we have a name defined with a value APPL name, right?
Yeah.
So I'm capturing this value. Once again, I am going to the starting HTML tag and placing the cursor again in the under find tab, find element, and I'm placing this value over here and trying to find whether this element is unique or not.
Okay.
And the cursor is blinking on given name text box, and the tag it is identifying is this particular tag. So until above there is no element with the value APPL name defined for the property name, right?
Yeah.
But we have some more elements defined below. So we need to once again search for that particular element. Find next. It says reach the end of the document without finding an element with those properties, which says that there is no other element, there is no other tag defined with the name property with the value APPL name. So I can use this name to identify this particular given name text box. Okay?
Yeah.
Any doubts till now?
No, as of now, no doubts.
So I am going to give the access to you. So I will give you some tests, like you need to identify some of the text boxes over here and tell me which is unique. Okay? So can you share your desktop now?
Okay. Yeah. 1 minute.
So I have made you the presenter.
Okay.
So you can go top and ask for the desktop access. Oh, okay. It is in your system right now. So in your system, I don't think it is Mac system. You can install Internet Explorer. So what I would do is I will give the access of my system to you so that you can access my system and do the testing. Just so Kalyan, now
Yes.
it's your turn. So I want you to tell me how would I identify this particular text box. I want to identify the place of birth text box. Can you tell me what is the process that I need to take now?
Okay. Yeah. In the left pane on the top, you just need to click on the arrow one,
Okay,
place it on the place of birth text box,
okay,
and then we can see like it shows on the font on the left pane input class
yes.
corresponding the
The
property.
particular tag identifying that particular text box.
Yeah. So
Then,
here I would be having different properties like background, class, name, size, style.
yes,
So as you mentioned that the first mandatory is like to identify it by ID.
yes,
Since ID is not there, I would go for a name property.
okay,
Since I have the name with having a value place of place
okay,
value, I would copy it
Yes.
And the left pane, I'll go to the top to the HTML.
Okay.
You can,
So why are we placing the access on the first HTML tag?
yeah, the first HTML tag, the page gets highlighted.
Okay.
And under find, if you can click on the menu find,
Yes.
and under that need to select the option find element.
Okay.
So as to see
Okay.
if there's any unique by that name, property
Okay.
name, and there's the value over here.
Okay.
Select
And what should we select here?
Yeah, if it is an ID, name, or class, since it is a name, so I would select the name.
Okay.
Click on the find.
Okay.
So it shows that the place of birth is getting highlighted.
Okay.
And that under the font, it's blue, highlighted. But still, I need to know if there's any other element by its property name within the page. So I would go find, click find next.
If there is any other element defined, then it will be going and searching for that particular element and say whether it is unique or not.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So now let's take an example of district or country. Here I am selecting district or country. This is the tag that is getting highlighted. For general purpose, let's think there is no name defined for this. Just assume that no name is defined. So what is the next thing that you will take, Kalyan?
Class name.
So class I will take. So what is the value defined for class?
Text box dash.
So what I will take, I will put the cursor on the starting HTML tag and click on find element and place the value over here, and it is class, it's not ID or name or element, and I click on find. Once I click on find, if you see the cursor is blinking on surname and this tag is highlighting the surname. What we want to identify was district or country, but there is a property class name defined with the value text box dash for other web element also. So can we expect to use this class name to identify district or country?
No, we need to find a unique property.
So whenever there is an element, whenever there is a property which is being whenever there is a property with a value that is defined for multiple web elements, then such value or such property should not be taken to identify the particular web element. Got my point?
Yeah.
So this is how you identify an element. If you take ID or name or class name, these all three follow the same process because these three are the properties defined under HTML tag. But XPath and CSS are two different concepts. In the further classes, we'll know how we will define XPath and CSS. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
So let me give the access to you, and then let's see. Now we have seen on Internet Explorer. Let's do the same thing on Chrome as well as Firefox. Okay?
Yeah.
So Kalyan, what we'll do is we'll take another website called Deal for Loans website, and let's start identifying the web elements within this using another add-on. As we were discussing that we have an add-on for Firefox that is called Firebug. Okay, so if you see below, whenever you click on F12, this particular add-on comes into the picture. Okay, so now what you do is try to select the pointer in the same way, that is on the left bottom. Yes, select that particular pointer and select the full name text box.
Okay. Yeah.
So can you maximize little the Firebug, little expand the Firebug?
Yeah.
So now identify that full name text box.
Yeah.
So now see what are the elements defined for this, what are the properties defined for this particular web element full name text box.
We have ID defined,
Yeah.
type defined,
Yes.
tab index defined, on key down,
Yes.
type, height, and name.
Okay. So what would be the first preference?
First preference would be ID.
Okay. So select ID. Select ID value. Copy that. The same approach, go to the starting HTML tag. Place the cursor on the starting HTML tag.
Yeah.
Now, on the right side, you'll see a search box. So place that value in the search box.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, once you place the value on the search box, automatically that particular tag, that particular tag is getting highlighted. Can you place the cursor on the input tag?
Okay. Yeah.
The particular tag. 1 minute. Let me take the access of your system. So now see, once you place the value, so what I'm doing once again, let me go to the starting HTML tag. So I'm placing the value, I have placed the value full name in this text box and clicking on next. And if you see, a value has been identified over here under one tag. So I'm placing the cursor on that particular tag, and that particular tag is identifying the full name text box.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So if you see in this input tag, ID has the value full name as well as name has the value same full name. Do you think that is it going to be a problem for us to identify this full name text box?
No. This is either it can be identified by ID or a name or a class or Xpath and CSS. So unless
but ID is a different property, name is a different property. Two different properties can have the same value, so the same string or integer, but same property should not have the same value. So here we have ID equal to full name and name equal to full name for the same tag. So for the same tag, or even if it is for different tag, it's okay. But the same property should not have the same value for two different web elements, right?
Okay.
So now I have come until here, but below this also there are some more tags. So I need to identify whether this is unique or not. So I click on next. When I click on next, the cursor is not moving anywhere else. The value is being moving here and there within the same tag. If you see, are you able to see the highlighted region? So we can say that this value full name is unique we can use either ID or name to identify this particular web element. So the first preference goes to ID. So I'm going to take ID to identify this particular web element. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So I am going to give the access back to you. So now your task is to identify the net salary text box.
Okay. Place the cursor on the left one, then I
Yes.
take it to the next salary text box.
Yes.
Doing that, I got different property and its values. ID,
Yes.
type, tab index, on
Yes.
key, on change, on key,
Yes.
height, and name.
Yes.
So I would take it since it has ID. So I would take
Yes.
it as first property, and then I will
Okay.
go to see if there's any other property available in the whole top of the head.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would go to the search box. I would paste the value that I have copied. I would enter. And since it's getting navigated to ID shows as
So if you place the pointer on that particular tag, that will be highlighted.
Yeah.
So on whatever the tag that is getting identified, if you place that particular tag, the pointer should be placed on that particular tag, and you will see a blue colored shaded region on which element is it identifying.
Okay.
Are you able to see that net salary text box is getting highlighted over there with a blue region?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So once again, try to find the next element. Is there any other element defined with that?
Yeah. So I would go to the search box and I try to click on this next. It's getting within the attribute only. It's not moving to any other property.
Okay. So that particular attribute is only getting navigating. So we can say that this particular value for ID property is unique, right?
Yeah.
So this is how we use Firebug to identify an ID or name or a class name to identify a particular web element on a given web application.
Okay.
Able to get me?
Yeah. Yes.
So can you open Chrome?
Okay. Yeah.
So just copy the same website, and what you do is navigate to some other link over there. Can you maximize this window?
Oh.
So under home loan, you find a home loan menu, right? So under home loan menu, can you select apply home loan?
Yeah. Just trying to make it. Yeah.
Looks like you are under Firefox.
No, it's Chrome.
Chrome. Okay. So now, as I said, if you click on F12, automatically the Firebug, internal Firebug will be coming. So just click on F12.
It shows the volume. So.
Pardon me, Kalyan?
Actually, this shows the volume. Like if I click on the F12, so I'm just looking at the settings.
Okay. So Kalyan, just go to the drop down of home loan and click on apply home loan. In the menu, personal loan, home loan, car loan, you find apply home loan. Yes. Okay. Even if you can go from the down. And you have some different text boxes, right? So can you identify the email ID text box?
Okay.
So you have a pointer over there. Just select that pointer, which is beside the HTML tag, bottom left side. So select that and place the cursor on that. And that particular tag, that particular attribute will be selected, and see what are the elements defined for that.
It says name, ID,
Okay.
style, on key down.
Okay.
Since we have said earlier that first should identify ID.
Okay. So move with the ID. So copy the value, and in the same way as the Firebug in FF, you have a search on the right side. So place the on the starting HTML tag and place the value over there. So you may be seeing email, but that is a property defined for ID over there.
No.
It is just a simple text email, but it is not the property ID with the value email. So we are only concerned with the property ID defined with the value email.
Yeah.
So you got a tag over there. So can you place the cursor on that particular tag?
Yeah.
And if you see on this web page, the blue color shaded region with input, some pop-up coming, telling 186 pixels and all those things, which tells that that particular element is getting identified. So from the top to till that element, this is the only element that has the value email with ID property. There are some other email values, but that ID property with value email is there. But search for the next element. Is there anything defined? There is an email value, but that is not ID property. So nothing is defined. Yes. So can we say that this value ID, the property ID, can be used to identify that email ID text box with the value email?
Yes.
So this is the approach of identifying an ID or name or class name, anything, because the properties are defined within the tag. ID or name or class name are defined. But Xpath and CSS are different approaches. Why should we go for Xpath and CSS when we have an ID or name or class name? When ID or name or class name are not unique.
Okay.
Able to get me, Kalyan?
Yes.
ID is defined multiple times with the same value. Name is defined with multiple times with the same value. Or class name defined with multiple times with the same value. Then we should go for the next approach called XPath.
Okay.
Or no ID, no name, no class name defined for that particular tag.
Okay.
For example, can you place the cursor on terms and conditions over there?
Yeah.
And see the tag. See that attribute. Is there any name, ID, or class name defined over there?
So it has got only href, target, relative, class, type.
So class is defined, right?
Yeah.
So can you identify that with can you identify that particular element with that class? Try to identify that.
Paste it here. I'll try to find the text. It shows 265 matches.
Okay, but just see whether text with the property class name is defined.
So it doesn't show up anymore.
Click on next, click on next. It's type.
Say class type.
Yeah, if you see, there is one element with a div attribute defined with value class equal to text. So can we use this particular element to identify that particular hyperlink terms and conditions?
No, because there are multiple web elements with the same name.
Yes. So we don't have ID, we don't have name, we have a class, but that is not unique. Then in such areas, we need to go for an approach called Xpath approach. Able to get me? Kalyan, are you clear with the ID approach, name approach, and class name approach?
Yes.
So in the next class, let's discuss when we don't have an ID or name or class name uniquely defined or not at all defined, how to identify that elements using Xpath.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So let's talk about this in the next class. Okay?
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, Kalyan.
Thank you, Kawan.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.